This is me, is Queen Aset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. So, I got a message from this guy, and he said, "How is it that you know so much about Aquarius?" He was like, every time he watches a video, it's kind of eerie to him because it applies to him. And he's like, how does she know what's going on in my living room? And I assure you, I'm not pulling cards on your life. But what happened is that, let me tell you how I know this. Number one, it's two ways. Number one, when I was a very small girl, like 3 years old, my mother gave me a comb. It was a flat comb. And at the bottom of it, it said Aquarius. And it had the water bearer symbol on it. You know, the Aquarius with the big jug with the water pouring out of it. And I love that comb. My sister had one for Capricorn. My mom had one for Capricorn. And I just loved that comb. I thought it was so cool. So, I was born in 77. So, around that time, the 60s and the 70s, astrology was something that was kind of becoming more mainstream. People were learning about it. They were accepting of it. You know, they saw it as entertainment. They thought it was kind of cool. So things like, you know, belts with your astrology sign on them. We had stuff like that, you know, combs, just little things like that. So from the time that I knew what an Aquarius was, and it applied to me, it was a term that applied to me, I wanted to know what that meant. It was just a natural curiosity because my mother, like I said, gave me this comb. And I'm like, what's an Aquarius? And she's like, that's your sign. You was born in during the time of Aquarius. And I was like, okay, And as I got older, I read every keychain. I read every magazine, every book. Linda Goodman's sun signs, black love signs. I read all kinds of stuff pertaining to Aquarius. And then as I started to date, I would look up my lovers to see if we were compatible and what the problems could be and how I could deal with it, how I could address it. So that's how I learned about astrology in general. But it was always very Aquarius centered because I wanted to know more about myself, you see. And it was mostly a lot of reading, looking at videos, like a lot of stuff like that. Because like I said, astrology is something that people have been studying for a very long time. So there's lots and lots of literature on it. And the literature doesn't change very much, really, from, you know, decade to decade. It's very similar information, just refreshing it and looking at it from different perspectives as the ages move on. So that's how I learned about Aquarius and astrology. And like I said, I would look up my daughter. I would look up people I dated. I would look up just people in general. If I had a conflict with someone or I liked them a lot, I would look it up and say, I wonder what their sign is. And I would look it up. And then I started to see that you needed to look at more than just the one sign, but you need to look at the chart. And then I started to look at people's charts on astro.com. And I have a friend who's a Virgo, and he's into astrology. He's like an amateur astrologer. You know, at this point, he probably could get a PhD in astrology for real. He's probably well beyond amateur. And we would talk about Aquarius and Virgo and astrology for hours upon hours upon hours. We would just talk about it. That was just our thing. We loved it. And we would talk about it all the time. So that's how I learned that aspect. And the second aspect of it is I'm very aware of myself. And I am very Aquarius. I have 2 placements in Aquarius, Aquarius Sun and Aquarius Rising sign. And then in my chart, I have more Aquarius. So I have a lot of Aquarius in my chart. And so that makes me very Aquarius. Only person that would be more Aquarius than me is somebody who's like a triple Aquarius. And I couldn't even imagine that. That might be even too intense. But yeah, so I know myself. I have studied me. And a lot of things about me that fall under my zodiac sign, some other people have experienced or will experience themselves. So when somebody's in your zodiac sign, if the two of you are very, authentically, have the characteristics of your sign, the two of you will have a lot of similarities. So a lot of you listening to me that are Aquarius are going to have a lot of similarities to me, especially if you are a stereotypical Aquarius, you're going to be very similar to me. You're not going to have lived the same life, obviously, nature versus nurture, but you're going to have a lot of similarities, maybe even a lot of the same thought processes, maybe a lot of the same mistakes, you know, that kind of thing. That's why I tell the people here, especially those of you who are younger, if you listen to my crazy stories and stay out of Dodge, you can possibly dodge some of the stuff that I got into, because some of you will come up against some of the same challenges, you know. So that's how I know about Aquarius. I'm constantly studying myself. You know, I look at me. It's really interesting. I've studied me, you know. I've looked at me from every angle, like trying to see what makes me tick. What are my motivations? How can I better myself? What makes me do certain things? What makes me say certain things? Why do I have an aversion to certain things? Everything about me, I have studied. I am very self-aware. I even ask myself in some of my journal exercises, what is going on with you? And I'll write out what's going on with me. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling that? You know, I'll ask myself these kinds of questions, you know. When was the last time you felt this way? And I'll sit and read my answers and really see what makes me and my insides tick. You know, I've studied me for a long time because I've been working on me and trying to get me better for a long time. You know, I want to be the best version of myself. So the only way to be the best version of yourself is to see where you are and what areas can you be better. You got to take accountability and responsibility for that. And for some of us, that's not easy. Some people never get better because they can't do that. That's not easy. It's not easy to look yourself in the mirror and say, you messing up here, here, and here, but we can do better. You know, still encourage yourself. Still talk lovingly to yourself. It's not easy to even admit that. Most people, when they realize they've made a mistake, they start making excuses for their mistake to even themselves. You know, and you can't do that. You can't start making excuses. You have to just look at the reality of what it is and what you can do better. You also can't be shame and blame and hold, that kind of toxic feelings towards yourself. You got to forgive yourself, but you can't just keep doing the same thing and forgiving yourself over and over. You got to do better. So you forgive yourself and then you work towards doing better over and over again until you get it right. So that's how you become the best version of yourself, is by working through your kinks, you know? So some of you, because you're Aquarius, have similar kinks to mine, you know? So those of you who can relate, that's why. And people who really can't relate, usually it's because something is going on in their chart that, you know, is overriding their Aquarius energy. Because I have very strong Aquarian energy. So people, if they say they can't relate, I'm like, something is overriding your Aquarian energy, you know, or you're a different type of Aquarius. And then in a later video, I'm going to talk about the types of Aquarius, because based on what weeks, is 3 types. Based on the weeks that you were born, you're 1 type, 2 type, or 3 type. So I'm researching that right now to explain it to you guys. But basically, you could be a different type of Aquarius. But if you're under somebody's sun sign, there's generally some similarities between the two of you. Some of those characteristics are usually, you know, like most Aquarius will tell me that they're kind of eccentric, kind of strange, kind of unusual, you know. Most of us are like that. And when I meet an Aquarius and they're not a little unusual, I'm like, what's going on in your chart? I don't meet too many normal Aquarius. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You know, like, what happened to you? So, yeah, that's why I know Aquarius so well, because I've studied astrology and I know me. So if you want to know yourself, you can do the same thing. You know, all the astrology books that I've read are all on Amazon, you know. And I often give you guys books. As a matter of fact, underneath this video, I'll drop a couple of my favorites, and you can check them out. But yeah, it's researching. And then nowadays, YouTube is incredible. YouTube is a really great source nowadays. So you can find factual information on YouTube, and people like me that'll give books, give lists of books and journal entries and all kinds of stuff. So now you can even get free knowledge. When I was getting the knowledge, I had to buy those books off Amazon, but there's even free stuff now. There's all kinds of stuff out here. It's just looking for the right sources, the right material. Research is about reading the right things, because there's a lot of fake news. There's a lot of incorrect information. It's just all about researching and knowing what to read and what not to read. And for that, you just look for reputable sources. You can Google that. You can see, if something's a reputable source. Because by now, like I said, in this day and age, everybody reviews everything. So if it's a book, look at its reviews. See if people said it was good on the topic that you're asking about. It's a lot easier nowadays to get knowledge. That's why we're in the information age and going into the age of Aquarius, or in the age of Aquarius, depending upon who you ask. But that's for another video. So guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to someone else who wants to know a little bit more about astrology and Aquarius. If you would like to leave a love donation, I'll leave my PayPal underneath here. If you would like to sign up and get an appointment for a tarot oracle card reading, I'd be happy to do so. I'll leave my email so you can email me for an appointment. If you would like to answer the answer to a general question, you can email me or leave it underneath this video in the comment section. Likewise, I will leave my social media, because I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And that's it. Okay, guys, give me a thumbs up and come back tomorrow. I got more things to tell you.